What's up guys, welcome back, and in this video I'd like to extend our AdonisJS app to allow for authentication and relationships. So essentially I'd like for users to be able to log in and have their own to-dos. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I've done some minor prep work here. I already have the views for logging in and registering. So let me just show them to you. Register is at register. And here's how it looks. I literally just took it from the Auth scaffolding that Laravel has, because that uses Bootstrap as well. And let me show you the login one. So yeah, let's start with the register. So let me show you the views for a sec. So here's register. Again, it's just plain Bootstrap, and I've added the flash messages already for the fields for the errors, and I've also added the CSRF field, and I've also added the old values just to save some time on the video. So let's start with registering. So I'm going to make a new controller here. Let's call it register controller. So what's the command again? Adonis make controller register controller, and I want it to be resourceful. I think it's resource and HTTP requests. Okay, so let's open that up. Actually, let's go back to our routes first. I want to set up our routes. So let's just show the register page. So I'm going to copy this one and do something similar. So it'll be /register. It'd be register controller. And let's go to the create method. Let's call it register.create. Okay. And let's get rid of this one. Save that. Let's go to our register controller. Let's go to create. And let's just return the view. Return view.render register. All right, let's see if this still works. Cool. Okay, let's also make the route for registering, actually registering, so creating the user. So back to our routes. I'm going to duplicate this. It's going to be a post request to the register controller. Let's put it in the store method, and let's do register.store. Okay, back to our register controller. Let's first import user. So up here, I'm going to do const user equals use app models user, and down to the store method. Let's go ahead and make a new user. So const user equals await user.create, and let's pass in what we need. So if you look at our database, let's just check out the fields we have in our users table. Where is it? This one, users. So we have username, email, and password. So in our case, we're just going to put the email for both username and email fields. So let's do that. Username is request input email, and let's do the same for email. And for password, let's do request input password. So Adonis is automatically going to hash this password. I initially tried to hash it myself, but that didn't work, and I realized I was hashing it twice because Adonis was already doing it. Okay, so let's just redirect back, response, redirect back, And it's also flash a message. Let me just get that from the to-do controller. So let me just grab a flash message somewhere here. There we go. And let's paste that in. What can we say? Let's say you have registered successfully. And eventually we'll redirect back to the login page. We can also log them in automatically, but after I make the login page, I'll just redirect them back to the login page. Oh yeah, let's not forget to import session here. Okay. And let's see if this works. So let me just refresh this. User is not defined. Sorry, that should be use. Use. Okay, so it still works. Oh, I forgot to change our form action. So let's go to register.edge. The form is right here, method equals post. And what did I call it? I called it register.store. So let's just go register.store. We don't need this parameter. And we are good. Again, let's try this. Okay, so now let's try. Say blah@blah.com, password, and we'll look at validation in a second. I just want to see if this works. Okay, so you have registered successfully. Let's check the database for our new user. And there it is, cool. Okay, let's quickly go over validation. So I specifically made it so that these fields are just text fields, and I'm not doing any browser validation, which you should, but let's quickly do some validation here. So I'm just gonna duplicate one of the validators we have already. Just do this one. And I'm gonna call it register. And let's change all of these to register. And let's change the rules. So for email, it's required. It has to be an email. And we also want it to be unique to users. So obviously we can't have someone signing up if the email already is taken. And for the password, we want it to be required. Say minimum 5. And let's say confirmed. So just like in Laravel, if you have this confirmed validation, then it's going to look for another field called password_confirmation to make sure that it's the same as password. So for the messages, I'm just going to paste in the messages here to save some time. It's pretty straightforward. I'm just passing in some custom messages for these validation messages. So yeah, that should work. Let's go to routes. Let's put a validator on this one. It's called register. And that should take care of validation. Just give it a try. So let's try not an email. Okay. Let's try passwords don't match. Okay. Let's try password field too short. Okay, cool. So yeah, that seems to work. Let's just see if it still works with the positive case. Okay, cool. Okay, now let's work on logging in. So back to our code. Let's go back to our routes. Let's do the same for logging in. I'm just going to copy these two and paste them in. Let's call this one login. We'll make a login controller in a second. Login.create. I'm just trying to make it RESTful. You can name it differently if you like. Login controller. login. I'll just leave it as login.store. Just login would be fine as well. And I don't think we need a validator for this. Okay, so let's make another controller. Let's call it login controller. Let me just move this up. Cool. Okay. Cool. So let's go into that controller and let's start with the create function. Okay. So this one will just be return view.render login, and let's see if this works. So slash login. Okay. So now we can redirect back to this page once the registration is complete. So let's just change this. Where's my store method? Actually, let me grab this. We're going to need this as well. And let's change this to, we can redirect to login. Okay, so back to our login controller. So now let's actually log in. So that, I think, yeah, I put it in the store method, if you remember. So for actually logging in, it's a post request to /login, and it's the store method. So yeah, to log in, we just have to use the auth.attempt, MUVS code auth.attempt request input. This is the email field, and then one for the password. Request input password. And that's basically it. Let's make sure to import this auth and also the session. And we just want to redirect. Let's redirect back to the todos index. Let me just grab some code for that. Let's grab this, paste that in. So the success message would be, you have logged in. And let's redirect back to, let's use a route, todos.index. And let's check out if I did everything correctly. So let me refresh. Okay. Oh, I also forgot the view. Always forget the view. So let's go to login.edge. And the route is going to be, what is it? Login.store. Okay. Close that. So let's give this a try. So I think the user I made was blah@blah.com. Let's try an incorrect password first. Okay, so invalid user password, cool. Let's see if we can actually log in. So there you go. We are redirected to this page, like I said, and we get this success flash message, and we are in. Okay, let's quickly make a logout function. So back to our code. Let's go to our routes, and let's make one for logout. So it's going to be a post method as well, but it's going to post to logout. We'll use the login controller destroy method, and we'll call it logout. Just normal logout, okay? And let's go into our controller, and let's go to the destroy method and just log out here. So it's just await auth.logout. We have to import auth. And then we can redirect response. Let's redirect to the login route. So login.store. And let's show this logout button on the view. So that would be the index view. And let's just put it on the bottom somewhere. So let's just put it after the to-dos. So after this UL. So since it's a post request, we have to use a form here. So let's grab this form and let's just change this. Okay, so the action is just going to log out, and we don't need this stuff. We don't need any of this stuff. Cool. And let me just change this. Let's not make it small. Let's make it button primary is fine. And let's change the text. It's going to be logout. Okay, so let's see if this works. So logout. Okay, so that seems to work. Okay, now I want to display some of the information for the logged in user. So if we log in again, let's just have a welcome message here. It says welcome. There's no name, so we'll just put the user's email. So right above here, right above the text box. So let me actually first put a margin on this. MB5. Okay, and so right above there, let's just say welcome. So right here, let's just say welcome name. Let's put in a div, welcome name. See how that looks. And yeah, let's just put a class on it. MB2. Okay, so let's replace this with the logged in user's name. So I'm going to pass in a field here called name. Oops. And let's pass that into from our controller. So for index, we also want to pass in the name here. So right here, let's pass in the name. And to get that, we just use auth.user username in that. I mean, that's just the email, but you get what I'm trying to do. Let's make sure to import that, and that should work. Okay, so there's the logged in user. Okay, now let's work on Auth middleware. So if I log out, there's actually nothing stopping us from going to here. And it's an error because there's no username on someone that's not logged in. But if I go to I think, yeah, this, then yeah, I can go into that, which is not ideal. Obviously, this is only for logged in users. So we can make use of middleware here, and there's some default middleware for authentication and for guests, just like in Laravel. So if you go to, where is it? Start kernel, I believe. Right here. Then you'll see the named middleware, which we can make use of. One for auth, which checks if you're logged in, and one for guest, which checks if you're not logged in. So we'll make use of both of these. So let's go back into our routes file, and let's do this. So all of these routes I want to be protected. So I want all of these to be behind that auth middleware. And we can just tack on middleware auth for all of them. Or the cleaner way to do it would be to use route groups, which we'll do here. So again, just like in Laravel, route group, let's pass it a arrow function. Okay. And let's put that down here. Let's indent all of this. And we can take this middleware and just put it at the end of the route group, and that will apply to all of the routes in the group. So if I do that, now if I try this, it shouldn't work. Okay, cool, because I'm not logged in. Okay, ideally I'd like this to redirect to the login page. Laravel does that by default, but Adonis does not. So we can easily add that in though. So let's make an, what's it called? A global exception handler. We can catch this specific exception. So this, what's it called? Invalid session exception. And then we can redirect to the login page. So let's go ahead and do this. So Adonis make eHandler. Okay, so that made an app exceptions handler file. So let's go to that file, handler, okay. And down here in the handle method, we can check for that specific error and then redirect. So if error.name equals invalid, what was it? Session exception, then we can redirect right here. Return response redirect. Sorry, redirect to /login, or you can use a route name if you want. Okay, so that should redirect now. So we try to go here, it redirects, cool. So similarly, if we're logged in, we don't want to be able to go to the login and register page. So if I log in, I shouldn't be able to go to the login page because I'm already logged in. So let's try that. This is still going to work. We don't want this to happen. So same thing, let's go into our routes file. And let's wrap those routes in a guest middleware. So logout actually belongs down here because you can only log out if you're logged in. So I'll put that down there. And let's get this and wrap these for, I don't need this anymore. Oops. In a route group. So middleware is going to be guest. Okay. Let's try that. So this should result in an error. Okay. And let's catch that and let's redirect. So back to our exception handler. And let's just copy this, duplicate it. And then error name is HTTP exception. And let's redirect back. Let's try this again. And cool, it works. Okay, so now with all the auth logic in place, we can make a relationship between users and to-dos. And the relationship is going to be a one-to-many relationship between users and to-dos. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to our user model. And to add a relationship is pretty much the same as in Laravel. So I'm in the user model here. We want to make a one-to-many between to-dos. So let's say to-dos. And let's do return this dot has many app models to do. And that should set up the relationship. You can do it the other way too. So if you want to add a relationship in to do, so to do belongs to a user, you can do that as well, but we don't need that for our case. So with this change, we also need to change the migration for to-dos. The structure of the to-dos table, we need a user ID, which is a foreign key to the users. So let's go ahead and do that. So a migration here, we just need a new one for user ID. So table.integer user underscore ID. That should do. And I'll change the seeds and the factory behind the scenes. We'll just hard code data and work with SQL Pro for the rest of this video. Okay, so let's rerun the migration. So Adonis migration reset, I think. Yeah. Or refresh. Okay, let's check out our database. So now it has a user ID. Cool. So now when we add to-dos, we want to make sure that we add the logged in user's ID here. So let's back to our code. Let's go to to-do controller, and it's in the store method. So let's just add a user ID here. So user ID, and again, we'll just do auth.user.id. And we'll only be in here if we're logged in, so this should always work. Let's make sure to import auth. So let's give that a try. So this should be empty now. Okay, so let's log in. I believe the first one was blah@blah.com. Oh yeah, I have to make a user. So let's register. Let's do blah@blah.com, password. Okay. And let's add some to-dos in here. So blah1, blah2, and let's log out. Well, let's check the database first, see if the correct user ID is in there, and it is. And let's log out, make another one. So another@another.com, password, and another@another.com, password. So yeah, now we're getting this other user's to-dos, which we'll fix in a second. Obviously, we just want to show our own to-dos. Let's say another one. So this is another's to-dos. And let's check if the database, okay, so two is the user ID for the other one. So yeah, we just have to change that in our to-do controller when we're passing in the to-dos. So in our index, right here, instead of everything, we just have to filter it down. So const to-dos equals await to-do dot, let's put in its own line, query, and we want a where clause. So where user ID equals the logged in user's ID. So auth.user.id, and we want to call fetch. And that should do it. So now, if I refresh this, it should only show the one I created. Cool. And if we log out, log in as blah. Then you can see blah's to-dos here. Cool. Okay, so one more thing here. We can still edit our to-dos, but we can also edit someone else's to-dos, which is not good because we don't have any permission set up. So if I go to 3, which belongs to the other user, I can still edit this. So we just have to do checks wherever we need to. So in this case, it would be in edit. So right here. So after this, we can just do a check here. So if auth.user.id, so that's the logged in user's ID, does not equal the to-do's ID, user ID, then that is not our to-do, and we can do whatever we want in here. I'm just going to return a message. You do not have permission to do this. And that should be it. Let's see. There should be an error now. Okay, cool. Oh, sorry. Auth is not defined. Auth. So 3 doesn't work, but the rest should work. Cool. So let's just put these in the other methods as well. So this should be an update as well after here. And it's import auth. And same for destroy auth. And right after this, just paste that in. And that should be it. So this is Andre from the future. I just wanted to do a quick update on how to handle exceptions. So right now we added this exception handler. And if you do it this way, then you're now responsible for handling all the exceptions, which I don't want to have happen. I just want to handle these two here. So let me show you what I mean. So now we lose the validation exceptions here. So if I just log in, we just get a message and it's not redirected back like we want. So the way to fix this is to not use this exception handler. So I'm going to rename this. Just delete it. I'm just going to rename it so I can show you what I mean. So now this should work again. If I just log in. Okay, so now it works. But now we've lost the functionality that handles these two exceptions. So to fix that, just if you go into the docs here, if you want to handle individual exceptions, just make a new file called start hooks, and you can handle them in there. So I've already done that. And it's down here, start hooks. Let me just rename it. Rename to hooks. And now you can handle these two, which is what we did before. And this should still work. And it does. And now this logic should still work too. And it does. Cool. So there you have it, guys. We've looked at authentication, relationships, and permissions to extend our app and allow our users to have their own to-dos. Again, very similar to Laravel, so this should feel very familiar if you're already a Laravel developer. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.